That's right. God damn it. Straight from Beelzebub's nutsack, we are back. It's Saturday night.
Yeah. Hey, Kyler.
Crazy.
Hey, Kyler, I got something special for you tonight.
A little special treat for you, brother, just to make you feel better.
Treat. Here you go.
I am totally guilty for finding that one because I know how much you hate the other special photo.
You mean this one?
I mean, in case you need a close-up, you know? Sad nipples aside, we got a hell of a fucking action-packed show for you tonight. We are talking about our... So sorry, brother. So sorry. We didn't mean to scar you, but, you know, it's fun. But anyway, we are counting down our top 5. According to us, albums by Iron fucking Maiden. There is not a single person who was conceived early on or even in recent years that don't know the name Iron Maiden. They're a household name, powerhouse of power metal, and honestly, probably the single greatest power metal band of all time. You know, that's really all I can really say. So before we get into our rankings and shenanigans, are you drinking tonight, Kyler? You know, I finally didn't cheap out tonight and I went for the Evan Williams. So
there you go.
Let's take a quick commercial break to the wonderful, fantastical Villain Arts Tattoos. Check it the fuck out. Where is it? Maybe. Are we going to? Honestly, I cannot wait until we upgrade that commercial to show the great talent that I've been, lucky to catch. Villain Arts Tattoo, like I said, the conventions are much more than just tattoos. It's fucking everything. Anything from sideshow to great art to great people, just all of us weirdos packed together in one big place. So catch us in March in Chicago. I forget the date, but it's on both Mischief and Ice pages, so definitely check it out. All right. So let's get into this Iron Maiden. Ranking top 5 favorites.
I'm actually pretty excited to do this one. I thoroughly enjoyed this entire week. I partook of the devil's lettuce every night, as I do. And I had several rips, and I just stood and zombied in front of my stereo system and ripped Iron Maiden album after Iron Maiden album. I really tried to listen to these with fresh ears and I tried to throw everything out, all of my preconceptions. I knew what my top three probably were going to be. But one of my big questions, I don't know if you guys noticed this as well, is what the hell happened with Iron Maiden? And in listening to this, like, they really took a nosedive, in my opinion. I disagrees with this, but I really think they took a nosedive after a certain album. And I figured out why. I paid attention to the production, and I think it's found there. And it's also found in, I think they forced one of the important band members to have his nutsack cut and pulled his jewels out. And I don't know where they threw them away, because I really haven't heard them come. Well, they came back a little bit in an album, I think 1993, but they threw.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Away. Yeah. So we'll get to that later on, but I really enjoyed this week. And I think that
It was difficult.
It was difficult.
Because I got some honorable mentions out the ass.
I think I respect Iron Maiden, and I enjoy Iron Maiden better because I listened to this so critically this time. I think I like him better than Metallica's 1980 albums.
Musicianship wise, I mean, abso-fucking-lutely. Definitely there was a ton of creativity that I think a lot of those early 80s bands just didn't have. The musicianship was fucking primo. You know, they weren't hacks just playing fucking rock and roll. They were literally single-handedly creating a genre, and their concept albums, I think, are almost second to none.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my opinion, though. What did you think there, Gangis, on your little trip with Iron Maiden?
Well, I did my list a little bit differently than you two, because I picked which album sucked the least. I did not enjoy Iron Maiden.
Oh, man.
I've
somewhere his inner child is crying somewhere.
I listen to a tiny bit of power metal here and there, but to listen to hours of it is horrible.
Okay, so we will be getting unique perspective from, you know, not only fans but not fans, and as well as very, very much from a musician standpoint. So y'all are in for it. So what is your number 5?
My number 5, I put Piece of Time.
Good.
I'm sorry. One more time.
Real good.
Piece of Time.
You said Piece of Time?
Yep. I should have written dates on this. What year did that one come out?
Don't you mean Peace of Mind?
Right.
Okay.
Did I write it wrong?
I wanted to make sure I wasn't fucked up.
Yeah.
Peace of Mind. Yeah, that was one from the 80s there.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
1983.
Right. 1983. Anyway, yeah, that was my number 5. My thing was I listened to each album. I obviously couldn't listen to 17 full albums in a week, so I picked all the singles and any others that were particularly of note according to like other pages and stuff.
What did you like about it?
I don't know. I thought that Sun and Steel and Quest for Fire were both pretty good songs.
Absolutely. I mean, that album is just amazeballs anyway, and definitely one of their, I would say, probably top 3 iconic albums of their storied career. So, I mean, you could literally tell their evolution from Killers on.
Yeah.
Not that Killers was a bad record.
Right.
It just wasn't them and what they were about to become.
Right.
So
Great choice. I mean, I don't think too many people can argue with putting Peace of Mind in the top 5.
Yeah.
Outstanding album. To me, 4.5 out of 5 stars on that album.
absolutely. All right. So I know I'm going to kind of get slapped on this one.
Okay.
But I had to include it in my number 5 because this was a slightly, to me, not so much an intensity, because it was intensity on a different level. And probably the Maiden fans from, all of the 80s coming up to the 90s wasn't really expecting to get what they were going to get. And that was one of the things that I was going to kind of come off of when you were talking about production value. So you're talking about a staple band of their subgenre after, technology is starting to boom a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Things are sounding different. The whole move from reel to reel to digital, that's a big fucking move for these guys. So, I'm sure record labels probably play into this a little bit too. This producer produced favorite, popular fucking bands of the 90s and made it not so boomy. I really like to use that term when it comes to them because, Nico McBrain's drums were very boomy. They weren't like crisp, chopped. You know what I mean? So you have that difference there. And let's face it, the way they recorded the bass in the 90s was a lot different too. So the album that I have to start with at my number 5 is Fear of the Dark. And I will say why. I know that's not one of the fan favorites, but the song Fear of the Dark and Judas Be My Guide, I don't know. Those 2 songs, I just really enjoyed the depth. It was a little darker for them and maybe a little slower, not as intense, but I feel it was intense on a different level, especially while I was still in high school at the time and including my favorite bands into my normal 2-hour metal-thon practice that I would do every day after school. And when that album came out, I don't know. I just really dug it. I thought McBrain kind of opened up a little bit more. He wasn't so reserved because it wasn't so fast. And I loved the sound. That was the one thing about the other albums is his drums just didn't I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're great. But they just sounded a little crisper and I could really just kind of dig into it. And I really feel like Bruce Dickinson sang his ass off on that record. I mean, yeah, he came off of doing that horrible solo project. All the young dudes I want to do. Anyway, I couldn't think of a worse song that he could have picked, but it's like he finally, comes back in. He comes back to the boys. And I think he brought a little bit of just a different atmosphere for this record. So I just kind of like the subject matter. So that's why it made my number 5.
All right.
I kind of felt like I re-listened to it and I really tried to listen to it with virgin ears for that album.
Sure.
And I did like it much better than I had remembered. I probably have not listened to the whole album
for sure
since about 94 is probably the last time I gave that CD a spin.
Wow, that's a lot of time.
I saw them on that tour. And of course, I would hear Fear of the Dark every now and then. Spotify, it comes up on different types of lists and things like that. But I really tried to listen to it with different ears. And after Somewhere in Time, they removed the balls of Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
Steve did not, I thought his bass tone was amazing until we got to Seventh Son of a Seventh Son and they started to neuter him. And it didn't have the volume. It didn't have the punch. And when I would argue, when you listen to Number of the Beast all the way through Somewhere in Time, his bass is so prominent, in the way that he works with Nico McBrain was amazing. And especially after Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, they took his bass out and it sounded real clicky, kind of like X's bassist. And I did not like that. And I'm not going to unveil what I really found out while listening to the album straight after that period. And but I figured out what it was, and I could kind of articulate it before, but I can entirely articulate it well now, and I will unveil that.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was weird for them going so percussive with each other, so tight. It's like they would fill together. That's not really something that a lot of drummer bass players do together. They literally were able to do that. And then once they said, hang back a little bit. That's kind of where the lack of intensity, I think, started to come in.
Right. And well, I won't unveil anymore because I want to talk about a certain album before I do that. But yeah,
sure.
Totally agree with you. And, Adrian Smith was gone for Fear of the Dark.
Yeah.
And when
so it had a different flavor.
Yeah. When Adrian Smith left, they became more chord chugging oriented and more chord driven than single notes, to where they would duel together with harmonized guitar tones. And that was totally gone after Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
It definitely was. Quick question from our illustrious comment section. Can I ask what your guys' favorite Eddie is? That's an easy one for me. Number of the Beast.
That's a really good one. Mine was Power Slave, because that's
my second favorite.
My second metal show, because Twisted Sister opened up for Maiden in 1995 when I saw the Power Slave. And so that Eddie was just I didn't even know about the 12-foot Eddie, and when he came out on stage, I was like, "What the fuck is that?" I was a freshman in high school. Toward the end, it was like in March of my freshman year. It's like, oh my gosh!
And he really looked like a mummy.
Yes,
which I loved about that. All right. Number 4.
Did we get Hoof Beast's number
Did
5?
we? I thought we did, didn't we? Or did he go on a tangent?
Oh no, I didn't do it yet.
Oh, okay.
My 5. I'm sorry.
Tangent.
I have not partaken of the devil's lettuce tonight. Is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And although I have my issues with it, the production is a bit neutered. They began to take Steve Harris's bass playing and a lot less prominent in the mix. The keyboards came in even more than Somewhere in Time. But it still was really good. Adrian was filthy all over that. They still had the harmony guitars that were kind of separate from Nico and Steve Harris's percussive element.
Did you think that maybe the more prominent keys were a result of the concept for the record?
Could be. I just felt like at that time in metal, there was a real trend of kind of with glam rock going to try to tone things down and not be as biting so that more people would accept it. And
I guarantee that was the record company's fault on that.
I would agree. And I think they were on Mercury. Were they on Mercury or Capitol Records?
Capitol.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty sure it was Capitol. And they were one of like those mega fucking conglomerates. Oh, we keep up with the latest trends.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I think Adrian also had a hand in that, because the keyboard edition and that type of
I have
layering
to pick a keeper.
was that was more of an Adrian Smith thing. And I would guess, although I haven't looked into it as hard as I probably should have before this episode, as to why Adrian stepped away. I know he wanted to do some solo work, and he did try and crash and burn with his solo work, but he's the one who brought
Big
the
surprise.
in more. And I kind of have a feeling that he was pissed, and then he left after that album.
Well, and we also see that in evolution of bands. A lot of times everyone's listening to different stuff.
Mhm.
And some people get that Achilles heel where they're like, oh, I can step out on my own for a bit. I think people are really going to dig this. I can't get it out with my current band, so I'll go do it solo.
Mhm.
And then lick your wounds, come back and go, I was wrong.
And boy, the band got better when he returned in, what was that?
Fuck yeah. I mean, there's a reason that each of those components work so well together. You take one out, it sucks. Hence, Geezer Butler, not on some of the Black Sabbath records that sucked.
Yeah.
Bitches.
Like, here it is for like all of these bands out there. Don't ignore your bassist.
No.
I would even argue, although I love Master of Puppets, but and Justice for All for Metallica, if they had allowed, and I don't like Jason Newsted as a bassist. I think he's a cheesy fraud, and he tries to pretend bassist playing.
He should have stayed in Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yeah,
it worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it was a lot of fun being so famous with Metallica, but the point I'm trying to make is look at Geezer's contribution when Sabbath were at their best. His fills about the way he worked with the percussions throughout. It was so damn good. And
it didn't matter who the drummer was.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how damned good and how prominent Steve Harris was until I listened to these albums this last week. It is so prominent on
He's masterful.
On Number of the Beast, on Peace of Mind, Power Slave, on Somewhere in Time. It's really, really dominant. Even more so than
he was the creator of the Gallop.
Yes,
and nobody does it better. It's like ding, 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 and then everybody copied it or tried to.
Yeah.
But they can't hold a candle to his left nipple. You know what I mean?
And his fills throughout, like this to me,
forget about it,
is on a level just because their music was more fast and it was more aggressive. Steve still threw all of those fills in, and they were complicated. Like, that stuff is not easy to play, and he played with his fingers show after show after show. What a master he is.
And never had to look at his neck.
So amazing.
He is literally grooving to the crowd the entire fucking time.
Yep.
Just like Geezer. I swear those two guys, besides Cliff Burton, are the only ones that could honestly say that they are like the king bassists of metal. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
For the 80s, I would agree. For the 80s.
There was nobody better.
Those three are the top.
Jimmy Hansen gets close, but not as much.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, Kyler.
Seventh Son. That's my number 5.
All
nice.
Right. All right. Number 4, I put Killers from 1981.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
You tell. What'd you like? Like, I really appreciate Gangis's observation.
I do too.
Because this is more like
it's
a video for him. Because Gangis, you weren't very familiar with him, right?
No.
Yeah. So like what your experience being as young as you are is on this.
See, I especially liked Murders in the Rue Morgue. I thought that one was cool. Not only just, from the concept being from the Edgar Allan Poe story that I like, but I thought the song sounded really neat. It was different. And then I also liked Twilight Zone and Genghis Khan. They were pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Of course,
Yeah, it was a very eclectic record.
Yeah.
As far as its writing. And I'm pretty sure this was Bruce's first record.
I believe.
Am I right?
Yes.
Or did they still have the other guy at this
they
time?
had the other guy. Bruce's first,
That's right.
yeah, is the Number of the Beast.
Oh,
Number of the Beast.
gotcha.
Damn it! I should have known that.
But like at times, like I didn't figure it out when I was new into Maiden. I didn't know they'd had a different vocalist for the first two albums until
Nobody did because they weren't fucking popular yet.
Until I bought the album. I was like, that's not Bruce Dickinson.
That was my first Maiden record was Number of the Beast.
Mhm.
So I didn't know. I didn't know until somebody said, oh yeah, he replaced this guy, Tony somebody. And I'm like, so I go back and listen. I'm like, that's not the Dick I know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, it was definitely different. The sound was different, but they didn't find themselves yet.
Mm-mm.
So what you got was like just a heavy rock album.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then like Bruce comes in and suddenly, it all comes to fucking together. It was the craziest transition I've ever seen from a band.
Like that band became like
Overnight.
Elite artists.
Just right off the fucking bat. Something else, man. For me, I went with Somewhere in Time for number 4.
All right.
I absolutely love the record. There are so many, the whole album as a whole. What happened? I was about to go into this great diatribe, and then suddenly Dick hits me in the face. All right. All right. I'm back. Fucking Stranger in a Strange Land and I would say Wasted Years are my top favorites from this record. They're just anthems, man. Anthems. But the whole Sea of Madness. We're talking about songs that can go all the way. Alexander the Great is like 8 fucking minutes long. And it doesn't like burn me out. I fucking love it. And for me, coming from Merciful Fate, super long ass fucking songs, I like that shit. But I'm like, this is interesting. So what are they going to give me? It's an onslaught of awesome. So definitely not. It's so hard to say that it wouldn't be in my top 3, but since I have to cut it down because let's face it, they have as many albums as what's his name that now has 12 fucking kids, Nick Cannon. So it's like, how do you cut it down to 5, Right. So I would have to say number 4 because my top 3 are like my nearest and dearest. So
okay.
Yeah, great choice. Glad to see that you have it in the top 5.
Oh, for fucking sure. Definitely.
Love that album. I wish I could have seen them on that tour.
Oh, it would have been massive. And I think I actually caught the VHS, the live. They were very well known for putting out VHS live concerts for every record. That's one of the things I loved about them. It's like, well, if I couldn't be there, I can stick it on my TV.
Exactly.
Their manager cracked the whip on them.
Sure did.
The best working band ever outside of maybe Rush. Rush put album out after album after album, toured, and Iron Maiden did the same exact thing. It's just Rush did it longer, or they had been doing it longer before Maiden.
Thing is, though, none of them got burnt out.
Yeah.
Dickinson to this day can still hit every fucking note.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot better than some of the other singers that came out of that era.
That's what I'm saying. He's pretty ancient himself. And what?
I was coughing saying asshole Rose. It
Oh,
sounds
don't
like a
get me
fucking
started on
joke.
that redheaded fuck. God damn. Al Jorgensen. Marilyn Manson. I could do this all day. But I mean, he's literally, before they went on this big current world tour, like the end of the end, Dickinson was doing fucking seminars on how he sings, and he packs the fucking place. There's no music behind him, and he doesn't even have to squish his balls to make it happen. He goes from his lowest note to his fucking highest note, and it was mind-blowing. That is a true classically trained vocalist right there.
And in with death metal vocals, it's a very similar thing is that you have to build those vocal folds up. Just do it and have volume to push volume out. Same thing with what Bruce Dickinson does. He has built that. He's maintained it. He has treated his voice with that instrument with kit his whole life. Amazing.
I don't think he ever took a day off, even when he was not touring.
Yeah.
He was still singing.
Just his songs are so complicated too. He tries so many things. Like what I felt with Fear of the Dark, when I listened to that, I felt like he was kind of at the end, and he seemed like he was not trying to redo or rehash what he had done in the previous 7 or 8 albums. And I felt like he was kind of burnt out at that point. They still toured their asses off for I saw him on both of those 2 albums right after Adrian Smith left in the, or in, like, let's see, it was 1991. I saw them in Albuquerque. And then I saw him in Atlanta. I think it was 92 or 93.
Either that or he has a favorite plastic pony he likes to stick in his ass. Oh, fuck that guy. Who at like not even the middle of his career sells his entire catalog for $200 million? That is a bona fide bitch. Ozzy could have done that how many fucking times? And he's fucking 74 years old.
Exactly.
Shit. That's like, here's my integrity. Take it.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't even like half the shit that he put out. That's why he sold it.
Yeah, probably.
Come on.
Yeah,
fuck that guy.
He thinks rather highly of himself.
Oh, and he's just a fucking ass kissing bitch. That is what he is.
Yeah.
Come on. Nobody will ever be able to tell me different.
So it was a little bit hard for me to choose for my number 5. And as I said, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son was my number 5. And the one that I was debating with was Brave New World. Because I really enjoyed that album, but it's really boxy. I didn't like it. So that didn't make it. So that was kind of a hard decision, but my really hard decisions were between number 3 and 4, who was number 4 and who was going to get number 3 and who was going to get number 1 and number 2. My number 4 is Number of the Beast.
Okay.
I love this out. Like the next 4 albums, I love them. It was really hard, but for me, number
Very
1
difficult.
2 stand out a little bit better. There are a couple tracks on this one. I don't care for Gangland very much, and Total Eclipse to me are a little bit weaker songs, whereas I felt on all of the other 3 albums that I chose before these, they were all bangers. The rest of this album, though, absolute banger, and it's also a breakout album with Bruce Dickinson. Outstanding. Steve Harris's bass is way out front with Nico McBrain, and then the other 2 guitars are in a way supportive a lot of the time, just doing chords, just strumming chords, and then they'll soar with amazing harmonizing solos throughout, and just
Lose your fucking mind.
just outstanding. This album scared the hell out of me.
As it did most people, I believe.
And
you know, it's like Dickinson walks into this record, pulls out this mega flogger, and just like starts whipping all of them, going, "This is what we're gonna do, God damn it!" And I'm gonna do and all this other shit. And he's like, "It'll be great." And lo and behold, that's what happened.
You know, I would argue that Venom and King Diamond's Merciful Fate did not give rise to the number 666 like Bruce Dickinson did in this album.
He was really the first one to make you scared shitless of it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
When you're an ignorant little American boy, when you're an ignorant little American boy whose parents haven't taught you how to think objectively, and you have a church lady keeping you as a captive audience in the car on the way to school, bad-mouthing Iron Maiden and all that I loved, of course I was like, oh, am I doing something bad by liking this? But Invaders, amazing song, and they played it every time that I saw them. Invaders, so damn good. Children of the Damned, 5 out of 5 song, amazing. They came out the gates excellent. 22 Acacia Avenue is a really good song, and they played that one 2 out of the 3 times I saw them. I saw them long ago. I haven't seen them in years and years. And then
now they're just doing legacy tours, like this album, that album.
Yeah. And so then
maybe we'll get the chance.
Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills.
Yes.
Absolute outstanding.
Not a single motherfucker on the planet that does not know that song.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful song. I love that song.
And then
every like hole in the wall bar has it on their fucking jukebox.
Yep.
And they had a lot of spoken like somebody reading things, which was super creepy, kind of leading into the songs. Outstanding artistry by this band. Like, please don't kick my ass in the comments for putting Number of the Beast as number 4. It's outstanding. I love my top 4 are amazing albums.
Honestly, I'm just glad it's in your top 5.
It's my number 3.
Boom.
Already. All right, before we continue our synopsis of Iron Maiden classic albums, we're going to take a quick commercial break because we got some Reapers Underground bands, Kingside bands, getting ready to gear up and fucking release some shit. So check out Iron Serpent with a little snippet of what's to come, Ahriman. That's right. And one of these times I will tell you the great story behind this song because throughout my, I guess you could call them religious studies, Ahriman is the original devil. So I'll have to do a spoken thing on that at some point if anybody is interested in hearing the story.
Yeah.
Sure, but comes out next Friday on all major platforms. But let's also take a quick look at something very tasty that Hoof Beast and I are going to be collaborating on.
Check this out. I just recorded some more vocals, and this has quite a bit of groove in it.
put that in there as a special added treat for you. When you dropped that video, I was like, I can't wait to destroy this thing.
I can't wait. I am so glad to have somebody to collaborate with for this. And like I felt like besides the production on my first album, which I worked really hard. I think they're great songs. The drumming was really basic because I had to program it. It was my first time with the program. And I just know I'm gonna redo that album. I'm gonna have Reaper throw down his nasty percussive tracks on there for me and probably re-release that album. And I'm gonna get it produced by Cave Dweller Music, which will be a lot better quality because it's a damn good album, if I don't think so. And then the new one, I'm doing a lot of different things with my vocals on there. Sometimes I'm doing backup black metal vocals, but I've worked on this now for 2 extra years. And so I can get a lot deeper with them and a lot airier. And so I have like 2 different ways of doing black metal vocals now. And so I'm bringing that out in this album as well.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
Definitely follow Human The Hoofed Beast on Instagram to catch all these tasty update videos.
All right, good night, Kyler. Here you go. Enjoy that image as you're drifting off to sleep tonight.
Enjoy the gelatinous dreams you're about to have.
All right. As I said, Number of the Beast was my number 3.
Okay. What did you particularly enjoy that over your first 2 choices?
See, what I did is I listened to a few songs and ranked songs on a scale of 1 to 5, and I compiled that to compile my 5 albums. And of course, I love Run to the Hills. It's been like the only song of theirs I've liked for a very long time. But I know you didn't like it so much, Hoof Beast, because it was a softer song, but I like Total Eclipse. I thought it was a cool tune. I like that it sounded different. So
that's kind of the nice thing about Maiden, and especially this record. It literally appeals to a little bit of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're the 2 that I named, Gangland and Total, are good songs, but I just didn't think they rose to the 5 out of 5 stars that every other song is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Still really good.
Basically not showstoppers.
Yeah.
Still good, though.
Yeah, and I never saw them play those live either.
I think, doesn't every artist have a couple of songs on a record they're just like, we stuck it on there for filler?
I feel like every band also has like that 1 or 2 songs where like when you're listening to it on the album, it's just kind of like meh, but then you hear it live and it's like, oh, okay, I do like that song. I feel like every band has that too.
Well, and you have to figure back in those days, they probably played almost all that record live. They didn't have anything else. They probably said, oh, let's forget Killers.
Yeah.
Let's forget the self-titled. This is the real shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's possible. All right. Man, we're getting down to the wire. Number 3 for me is Peace of Mind. And it's, like I said, the evolution. So after their stellar first incarnation with Bruce Dickinson, we're now looking at a more defined band and kind of like going towards that goal of what they want to sound like and what they want to be. Songs for me, well, these will just never die. The Trooper. I don't know anybody that does not get down to the motherfucking Trooper. Sun and Steel, Die With Your Boots On. That's like just a wonderful fucking song. Super intense. And Flight of Icarus. Love that track. You can really see that the rhythm section here is just dominating. And you move with it. So had to be my number 3.
All right.
I'm with you. Same thing. That's Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind. All three of us got this album in the top 5.
We did.
Yeah. This album is excellent. The only song that I kind of get tired of is Die With Your Boots On. I still
It's
like
probably because it's overplayed, oversaturated.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that is an album that is more akin to the albums after Adrian Smith left. They're more chord oriented. Like they're hard hitting. They're more chord oriented, and they don't have the soaring, dueling harmony kind of guitars going on like the other songs do. That's probably. But I really like To Tame a Land. They usually end with some kind of epic long song that takes you like through kind of a story.
Yep.
I remember on MTV watching Flight of Icarus, and that it wasn't like Iron Maiden wasn't as scary as I thought they were when I watched that video. Where Eagles Dare, one hell of a song, Revelations.
Yes.
Beautifully melodic. The Trooper, oh my God. The whole album is really, really good. The only song that I don't super identify with is Die With Your Boots On. I still think it's good. I thought it was a little gimmicky.
Probably indicative of the times. I don't know. I just remember being that kid listening to it.
Yeah. Still really, really good album. I love the album art too. Like it really is pretty fucking crazy and really scary. And I remember kids wearing this t-shirt. This t-shirt was really popular and seeing that all the time. And I wanted that shirt as well.
It's like, even if they weren't fans of the band, people were wearing it.
Yeah.
You know, how I found fucking Iron Maiden clearly was going to the record shop and seeing that first fucking front cover.
Mm-hmm.
And previous to that, somebody had played me just a fucking snippet of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I got to have this thing. And, you know, front to fucking back, I didn't skip nothing. Mm-hmm. I was buying all LPs at that time. So, you know, vinyl was the flavor, and it never sounded better. To this day, I still feel it sounds better on vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got that old kind of feel. I love the crackling sound.
There's just something somber about it. I don't know.
Yeah. There is. I always scratch my LPs though. I always scratch my vinyls. Always. Yeah. This album, once again, Steve Harris and Nico, way prominent in this.
Amazeballs.
This is the theme that I saw through their top 4 albums, that at least the top 4 that I chose.
Yeah.
Nico and that bass are right up front. And then Adrian and the other guitarist, forgot his name right now.
They're icing the cake.
Yep. It's just the way they work together, the way it's like different flavors. It works so well.
So good.
Nobody did the melodicism that was still really aggressive like these guys did.
You know, and Nico McBrain, for me, he was like one of the only guys who had a ginormous drum kit, but only one bass. Never had to do the double bass. That right foot is impeccable to this day. And the fact that he literally uses every bit of that kit, man, he's definitely one of my biggest influences.
I would say the giant Eddie that comes out on stage, his head was always big and blocky, and I always thought his head was a lot like Nico McBrain's head.
He does have quite a square head.
Yes.
Might as well call him the original SpongeBob.
Yeah. Or Frankenstein.
Or Frankenstein, sure. Absolutely.
All right.
Number
2.
My number 2 was Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Okay. A little higher on your list.
It was. I thought that album had a very different tone It's almost kind of a little bit proggy. I really like that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Especially
Nothing wrong with
like
the album.
what's that?
I said nothing wrong with that album at all.
No, especially
You know.
like The Evil That Men Do and Moonchild and Infinite Dreams. I thought those were really neat songs.
You want to know which song they released that I remember first off of that album? Was Can I Play with Madness?
Yes.
And it starts out like that's the first thing. Can I play with madness?
Yeah.
So good.
It's like you know that you're about to be taken on a trip. Every single one of these albums,
Definitely.
from the very first track, there's a lot of albums that start off with a giant fucking beep from the get-go, and it doesn't get good until like track 2 or 3. Every Maiden album that everybody can basically agree on is great. They're from that first track that it's about to take you on a fucking wild ride.
Yeah.
Which is why I have chosen Power Slave as my number 2.
All right.
From Power Slave, the opening track, I was hooked. Not to mention, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Egyptian legend and everything from the time of the pharaohs. And I feel like this record just kind of takes you through just like you walked back into that time, in Earth's history. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Every time I hear that song, what little hair I have stands up. It is just a bona fide banger. 2 minutes to midnight. Who doesn't sing along to that? It was like that album's version of Run to the Hills.
Yeah.
For me. Just very anthematic. Let's see, The Duelists. Aces High. What a fun fucking song. And it's only 4 minutes long. It's like one of their shorter tunes. And just like every 4 minutes, you feel like you just lived a lifetime. And of course, that fucking rhythm section. That's the one thing, besides the harmonized solos and all that stuff and the leads. Damn, just tight like a tiger. So definitely had to be my number 2.
All right.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. And that album, there's no weakness in it at all. At all. There's no weak song in there. There's some songs that they play live more than others.
Sure.
And Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, my gosh, it takes you on a somber journey. And Reaper, how about toward the end of the song? They just totally change, and it's related to the rest of the song, but they go off and they just soar and take us up and up and up.
Yeah, and it's one of the most fantastical things that they fucking do. It's like you got your verse, your chorus, the intro, all that stuff, but never has a band just kept, wait a minute, we're going, and they just it's like the equivalency of fucking jerking off. It's like suddenly it just blows the fuck up, and you're just like, I don't want this to end, and then it ends, and you're just like, oh, knee dropper. You know what I mean? Holy Shinto. I agree. I actually thought I was the only person that felt that way. It's like, nah, man, they're one of those few bands that they just keep you going all the way to the last minute. And when I watched that song live on that VHS, and he goes, thank you very much. It is now time for Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And then fucking Nico kicks it off. It's just like, ah! I can remember being that kid going with my long hair and everything and my fucking t-shirt. And I'm just like, ah! I still get that way when I hear that. Love their live albums.
Yeah.
Really do.
We are in agreement once again. Number 2. is our.
I love it.
This was such a hard choice for me
It really.
because
I mean, we're talking about a huge, massive catalog.
5 out of 5 stars, people. This album has
So good.
0 weaknesses. To me, the production bites even harder than Number of the Beast, and then I would say maybe Number of the Beast is a little dirtier, and Peace of
A
Mind
little
is
bit.
dirtier. But this is like production and mixing perfection, I would say.
I think they hit a home run with that producer, which I wish they would have kept as they grew.
Mhm.
Yes, so damn good, so damn. Everything that I've already said about this album, and you have said, people need to check this album out. And the way they merged this album, everything had the Egyptian theme with it.
It was fucking perfection.
I remember the black baseball long sleeve tees with
Ah,
on the album cover.
the
Oh,
jean jacket patches.
yes.
Like they had the full back, and you could just like plop that on whatever denim coat you had or vest. Which is why I still wear a vest to this day, but it's leather because I
Like
just love leather.
when I get to listen to this album, I start thinking of just how complicated in the artistry that goes into this album.
They went all out.
And I can't help but rival it against Master of Puppets. And
I do too.
and
Because they bring the heavy on this record. They really do.
I would say it's a faster and more intense album than anything Metallica has ever done. I would argue that. Now, their tone it's a lot more clean. Sometimes
Sure.
it sounds like they're playing on single humbuckers,
Yeah.
but they're soaring. They do different things, but the way the bass just it's like, hold on, Steve Harris is gonna throttle us straight through everything. Hold on tight, because oh my god,
He's
master
going to ear fuck us all the way to ecstasy.
Mhm.
masterpiece, 5 out of 5 stars. Get this fucking album if you don't have it. If you haven't listened to it in years, I dare you to listen to it again.
It's a must-have. It's one of those records that you don't go, oh shit, there's that fucking album again.
Yeah.
That one is just a fucking staple. So I agree. I challenge anybody out there in Three Witches Land. If you haven't listened to this record, if you don't even know Iron Maiden, don't be afraid. Start with that one, and you will see why they are hailed and revered as the best in their subgenre. They really are. They set the tone for all the big ones. Powerwolf, fucking son of a bitch. The one that came out not too long ago, Dragon Force.
Yeah.
Dragon Force wouldn't be fucking Dragon Force if it wasn't for them. All they did was add double bass. Guess what? Nico McBrain didn't have to do it. He didn't have to.
Blind
He
Guardian.
fucking destroyed you with that right cymbal
Yeah.
alone. Ding, 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 ding. Oh my God. Just pattern after pattern.
Blind
And then
Guardian.
the fucking face melters. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I could do this all day.
Throw in Blind Guardian as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All of them. Every last one of them that is fucking fantastic today. Fuck, I bet even Steel Panther took a page out of their book.
Iced Earth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the fucking way.
Awesome.
Iced Earth is just like a Maiden throwback.
Yeah.
Not that they're bad.
Right.
I'm not saying they're bad. There's nothing wrong with Iced Earth. But let's face it, not even the Ripper Owens could hold a candle to fucking Bruce Dickinson. Let's be real about that.
Yeah.
He does a mean motherfucking Rob Halford, but Dickinson, he'll never be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Before my number one, do you think we should run another commercial, or are we just plowing through it?
Actually, yes. Let's take a quick commercial break to one of my favorite sponsors. if you are channeling your inner Viking, if you are ancestrally linked to Norway or Scandinavia, you must check out our friends over at the Viking Vault. Check it out. That's right. The music in that song is actually done by the great Klaus Kruger, my son, and also lead guitarist of Iron Serpent. Let me tell you, even if you're just a fan of that history, the sagas, even more importantly, if that's your path in life and you need some talismans or any of the representations of the Norse path, there's nobody better. TheVikingVault.com. Check them out.
Hell yeah.
It really seemed fitting to play that commercial tonight, especially because we're talking about a band that their albums take you on historical journeys. I often wonder, what if Eddie could have been a Viking? Seriously. That's like the one fucking thing they never did. And I bet you if they did it, it would have worked. I bet you it would have been great.
That would have been really cool.
Not to take away from Amon Amarth, because I mean they got that shit on lock. But what if Eddie was a Viking?
I dig it.
That'd be so badass.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that before.
All right. Well, we'll see if you give me shit for this or not. But I put Somewhere in Time as my favorite album.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. All right, I got the Hoofed Beast approval. I can't fucking believe it.
Well, you didn't say Evanescence.
I had no way to say that. Anyway,
or Sarah McLachlan. The flood arms of an angel.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure we've all seen that fucking commercial at 4 a.m. in the morning on TV when you wake up to take a piss. And she's sitting there, give to the animals. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the animals, but she's got to make you feel so bad, make you cry. On the arms of an angel. Oh, that's what you want to do.
Oh my goodness.
I was trying to keep a straight face. I couldn't do it.
Reaper, how do you really feel about Sarah McLachlan?
She's a great singer, but damn it, that I got so fucking sick and tired of those commercials. I'm like, you ain't guilting me into fucking giving my hard-earned money up, bitch.
She is worse than Evanescence by far.
For sure.
All right, so
it's
tell
a commercial.
Like this was probably your first time really listening to it, and what stood out to you?
I really liked similar to like with Seventh Son, it was just a very different sound than some of their other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And as I previously said, power metal just isn't really my favorite subgenre. For them to step outside that a little bit and do some different things a little bit, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I especially liked which one was it? Yeah, the title track, Caught Somewhere in Time. I freaking love that track. That was really cool.
Yes.
It's very good.
It is.
Like I said, there's not a lot of songs that they've done that people can't somehow identify with them. Even if it's like one of their story albums, there's still something there. Maybe you were, fucking 1984 in history class and the teacher was taking you through, the ancient Sumerians or, any of these really cool cultural things. And then it's like the new Maiden album hits, and it like somehow just happens to do with something, that you had learned and you were listening to. It's like, oh, it just gives it that much more punch, even the songs where they were just being honest.
Yeah.
Wasted Years, there's so many songs. And sometimes it's just because they fucking rock. Sometimes it's because you just love the subject matter. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
There was never really a bad moment. I mean, we'll talk about the latter years after we're done with number one, because I definitely have some fucking things to say about that. We definitely will go ham. But for me, I'm sorry. I can remember being on the bus on my way to Skew.
Mm-hmm.
And we took our Walkmans with us, as we did back in those days. And somebody said, put this cassette in your fucking Walkman. Check this thing out. And this album, there's this dark fucking voice just basically telling you that the coming of the beast is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Just sucks you in like a fucking great horror film. And suddenly, Hallowed Be Thy Name comes in and tore my fucking balls off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Dad, can I go to the record store today? I just made somebody, cutting the lawn, doing the fucking dishes or whatever the fuck. I said, I got to go. And I went to the store, and there it was. The Number of the Beast album, and I've never seen the cover to this point. All I had was my friend stuck his cassette in my fucking thing, played it, and I was like, man, I was fucking enthralled. This was my introduction to Iron Maiden, and I never looked back from this point. It was just nothing like I had heard before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were so many great bands doing great things at this time. Slayer, Metallica, the or whatever you want to call them, of thrash metal and stuff like that. Plus, you throw some Merciful Fate and King Diamond in there, and you have so many fucking choices. But this was so fucking standout, so different. And I locked in with Steve Harris and Nico McBrain. I mean, I loved what the guitarists were doing. It's not like it was a new idea for me, because I heard, harmonized shit in Priest. I heard harmonized shit in Merciful Fate. It's there. It's not a new concept, but the way they did it is what really made me a fan of the band. And up to that point, I had seen some T-shirts here and there sparsely. I was pretty young around the time this album came out. I think I was 3rd or 4th grade, but that was the time. That was the time I was like, "Woo, metal is so fucking exciting right now." You talk about the Great British Invasion. Well, God damn it, Iron Maiden was at the forefront. So I put this as my number one, not because it was their best work, but it was the first work that really made me a fan and gave my ear and my palate something so different that I never knew that could be. And they're the best at it.
Can't argue at all. My gosh.
I mean, if you can imagine at that time, you had all that other stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, this falls in your lap. You're like, what the fuck is this? This looks amazing. It's like when you go to order a fucking meal at a restaurant. You're like, oh, what the hell is this? I love it.
Guys, I don't even consider this power metal. I don't see it as power metal. It is, but I see it as Iron Maiden. They're so unique. It's like Sabbath.
That's true.
Is metal, but Sabbath is Sabbath. The Dio Sabbath is a different type of Sabbath that I love.
It is.
But Iron Maiden, I don't see Halloween anywhere near them. I don't see Iced Earth anywhere near them. I don't see Grim Reaper. I don't see Blind Guardian. Dragon Force, any of these bands anywhere near as dynamic and as punctual and effective as Iron Maiden is with their metal. Everything is just perfection.
Especially, since pretty much Judas Priest had already cemented themselves into this legacy from an early time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when Maiden originally started with their first singer, it was almost carbon copy-ish of, let's say, AC/DC and Judas Priest at that time. But the moment that they were fucking unholy blessed with Bruce Dickinson coming into the band, it totally overnight, like we said before, changed their whole style, everything that they were doing. I don't even know who came up with it. Somebody whooped somebody's ass and said, "This is the way it's going to go."
Yeah. Like,
it almost makes me wonder, what were they listening to? What influenced them at that time to make Number of the Beast so different from their first two records?
Like when I make music, and this is what I thought of this week, even way more than when we did Black Sabbath last week.
Sure.
I thought about the genius in Nico McBrain's percussion, the genius in Steve Harris's bass line, Bruce Dickinson's lyric writing and performance. Both guitarists, like I could never do anything this good. I can't fathom it. Oh, well, but I'm thinking it from the point where on my albums, I do pretty much everything until I finally have Reaper to do the drums. But like what I really wish I could do is I wish I lived in the same fucking city and we could create everything from the beginning together. That's what I really love. And it's so much easier when you have somebody else there with you making decisions. For me, doing what I do, it's hard for me. It takes me a long time because I have to think through it a little bit more. Bass lines, I could do that all day. Easy. If somebody came up with guitar riffs, they said they need a bass line, I will do overlays. I will do harmonies with it, stuff like that. Mm. So when I thought about what these men did with their 5 iconic albums, the albums that I chose, I was just in awe of them. And my number one, Gangis, thank you so much. We 100%, that Scott or Somewhere in Time is my favorite album, and it was so hard between that and Power Slave. Mm-hmm. To me, the production on Power Slave and Somewhere in Time is almost identical. It's just they brought keyboards in, and I'm not a big keyboard guy. I can tolerate it with Rush, and I can tolerate it, but really tasteful with Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time. Every single song is absolutely catchy. Their fangs are bared, and they are biting and clawing throughout, just like they did in Power Slave. Power Slave and Somewhere in Time, to me, are both 5 out of 5 star albums. There's not a weakness on it.
No, there really isn't. And that's what made this whole fucking, set of our top 5 so difficult, because it's like every album is so badass, but yet there's one that always sticks out to us the most, that influenced us the most. And just when you think about it, it makes you go back in time, Somewhere in Time. It just takes you right back to when you were that guy back in those days and how that record changed your life. And I can definitely say that, that's why I put Number of the Beast. Was it their best? No. But did it totally captivate me to want to see more, to hear more, to be a part of Iron Maiden? Yes, absolutely. So I don't think there's anything bad on all 3 of ours lists as far as what our number ones were.
No.
And definitely Gengis's perspective is fucking refreshing because
Yeah.
no, I'm serious, for real, because somebody who wasn't there when it came out and you're like listening to it from a fresh perspective, it just goes to show you the power of Maiden.
Yeah.
It's like the first 8-year-old of the year 2023 that hears Sabbath for the first time. Could you imagine? It's like they heard their first Paranoid record and then go, I want to hear the rest.
Right.
Just forget Technical Ecstasy.
What was that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It never happened, people.
I
and that's, like I said, this was really fun, but really difficult. But unfortunately, like a lot of the greats, man, that ruled, there is a reason, folks out there, Gen X, whatever that you call yourselves these days, there's a reason that the 80s still remain one of the most amazing times. Not just in metal, pop music even. Let's talk about the great goth bands of the 80s that no one really knew about until suddenly, Typo Negative comes out and goes, oh, there's a thing called goth music? Hello. Goth existed long before that. So, there's a reason. There just is. So if you're a new metalhead, let me tell you, there are bands that laid the groundwork for some of the most popular ones to this day.
Yes.
And I think Iron Maiden has influenced a little bit of everybody. They might not be totally power metal or, whatever, but no one quite sings or sounds like they do to this day. With all your computer digital stuff, you know what I mean? So it was actually just a real honor to go through these records. But unfortunately, like I said, like some of the greats of the era, coming into the 90s was a hard fought fucking time on two different things. One, trying to stay relevant during the grunge era. It's kind of hard to do that.
For sure.
And unfortunately, record companies were so enthralled with the panty dropper bands that's all they fucking pushed at the time. So we're talking about Iron Maiden kind of getting pushed to the side. Slayer was pushed to the side. Ozzy became a pussy at this time. And it's like, fuck. So Maiden put out a couple of records during the 90s. Well, there was probably more than that, but they weren't as great. Their creativity stifled. They lost one of their principal guitar players. So it was rough. And then coming into the 2000s, holy fuck. With that metal explosion happening at the beginning, how does a band like that stay relevant other than their classics? There's a reason that none of us mentioned any of the 2000s records, although you did reference the one Brave New World. That was 2000. But there's also Dance of Death, The Book of Souls, which actually I kind of feel like that record was a little bit more them, to be honest. It's like suddenly they were like, I'm done trying to hang with the hipsters. Let's do what we do best and try to bring it back. But then again, just to find out that people are more interested in them doing the first 5 records, Sabbath found themselves in the same place. I know I said it, bombshell, bomb drop. They said that after they put out the album 13. It's true. It's sad, but true. I don't know why. Did they really expel all their genius in those first records? Or do they still have something to offer? What do you guys think?
I liked 13. I thought that was a good album. It's anytime you have Tony
Oh,
Iommi
I loved it.
driving his riffs, you're not going to go wrong. It's the other members who fuck it up.
For sure.
Never was Geezer, except for when Geezer was absent. But it was Ozzy not being there. It was his absence. When Ozzy was with Sabbath, outside of the what we shall not name, that album, like during the real heavy drug period, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like 13. I thought 13 was a good comeback. It's just I don't like to hear it be as modern sounding as it was. I liked Sabbath with Ozzy having that 70s feel. And that like they're good songs on that album. Like I'd say go buy that album. It's a good album. But it's not as good as their early 70s albums, their first 4 or 5.
So now let's apply the same thing to Maiden in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I've identified why Maiden never ever grabbed it. Even on, was it Sensuki, their last album? I have all of their albums. What they don't have is they are more chord oriented and chugging with chords. They do not have the two guitarists taking off, and I mean intensely taking a side to side.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Are they just out of ideas?
Is it the newish guitarist that they added after Adrian Smith left and they kept him? I thought he should have gone away because his guitar solos are more akin to 1970s heavy rock and roll guitars. They don't soar like Adrian. I don't think Adrian was ever, I think he was the one who pushed things forward because when he left, what was it? No Prayer for the Dying. That's the came out after Adrian Smith left. They were more rhythm oriented and I'm not talking about rhythm oriented and dynamic like they were before. It was more straightforward, power chords moving forward. And Bruce Dickinson did his damn best, but it just wasn't like the albums of the 80s. And it
almost makes you wonder, did Dickinson like this new version?
I mean, he stuck with him, but like I would say this album, if they had the same producer who did Somewhere in Time, this Brave New World, if they had somebody who did Somewhere in Time or Power Slave, this would have been a great album. The production on this album is absolute shit. Steve Harris's bass is just clear. It has no volume, no nuts to it at all. Nico McBrain's drum kit is really boxy. But Bruce brought it for this album. The melodies are really, really good. They're real catchy. But
I don't know. For me, I really can't say that Bruce ever had a lackluster vocal line. I mean, there was a time where it kind of seemed like they were tired. But, you hear about bands that toured so fucking hard for so long that they did kind of, lose a little bit of their luster. Well, you saw what happened to Danzig's voice after Danzig 2. He fucked his voice up and had to become, the Hulk version. Of Danzig. And, but then again, you look at bands like fucking Typo Negative, where Peter started off as screaming and being super fucking strong on his voice, and then suddenly becoming this baritone fucking amazing success that you never knew existed. So it's like, I don't know. It's catch-22 sometimes. So I don't know. And I think probably that last record that you had cited there, Tzatziki, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
whatever sauce it is, that, that record was like a last ditch effort. That's what I got. And well, we're going to listen to the record company and they're going to tell us that all the nostalgia acts are out there making money because they're playing their hits from 40 years ago. You should do the same.
Yeah.
And Nico gave up the drinking and became a devout Christian, and he has a problem doing the Number of the Beast tour. Fuck you. That's when you take the balls away, and he's not gonna give his fucking best.
Mhm.
I hated reading that.
Yeah, me too.
God damn it.
Anything where religion rears its ugly, fucking, stupid ass head and says, "Don't do this or don't do that." Like you don't have the choice. We're going to try. It's fascism in a way.
Very much so. And to be honest, if you got a drinking problem, fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can do it. You don't need God for that.
Exactly.
No.
Guy daddy,
Yeah. So like again, I would go back and listen to Number of the Beast up through Somewhere in Time.
Absolutely.
And focus on how tight Nico and Steve Harris were on the side. And then focus on how Adrian Smith and the other guitarist, I forgot his fucking name, how they soared and how they supported Steve Harris. Steve Harris led the charge on all of their amazing albums. He really did. The other guys supported that bass line with their chords, and then they took off and they soared with their single note harmonies. All four of those amazing albums, Peace of Mind, Number of the Beast, Power Slave, and Somewhere in Time, all of those albums have that characteristic.
They do.
And they still had it on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, but the keyboards came in and they neutered it quite a bit. And then after that, No Prayer for the Dying, it's fucking gone. And they were never to return in the same way.
It's kind of sad in a way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you venture out a little bit more. You change what the formula was just a little bit. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it just doesn't.
Yeah.
But my hat's off to them. They kept pounding away all the way up to, recent years. Not a lot of bands can say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I was just reading the other day that a band called Skid Row, some of you might remember Skid Row, have still been putting albums out all this fucking time. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, man. It's like,
I had no idea.
Oh, I know. I bet you I know why. They're on a label that doesn't push them or put them out in the verse unless you follow them on social media. There's a lot of bands from that golden era, 90s, 80s, all the greats from those times. Unless you follow them, you don't know about it. Luckily, Iron Maiden was one of those bands that you always knew something new was coming from them.
Mm-hmm.
Household name. That just goes to show you the legacy of that band. One of the bands that I can honestly say that really kind of owned the last 20 years as far as their thing, Judas Priest. Tell me I'm fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
They actually managed to stay very, very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And Maiden, they really tried.
Yeah.
And their core fans stuck with them.
Judas Priest lost Rob Halford about the same time that Bruce Dickinson had left. Like it was around that same period. And they kind of took a nosedive. And then even with Rob Halford, they did that Nostradamus album. And that's a sting. But still, They put out some good albums. What was the Superpower that came out about 4 or 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Doctor, something like that. That album's really good. I have it over there, but and I saw them.
Yeah. You know, and that's just sadly what has happened to a lot of the bands, the greats. Even bands like Slayer hit a fucking skid.
Yep.
And, you know, you lose one of those key original members, Dave Lombardo, and suddenly the band goes fucking south. Nothing to take away from, you know, Paul Bostoff, but, you know, that was another thing. I hate to go down these rabbit holes, but you guys are my brothers, so you don't mind it. I was reading a recent interview with Kerry King. The man's pissed off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know how many of you don't know this, but guess what? Kerry King never wanted to end Slayer.
Yep, it's true.
Everyone else did. So I'm actually like really, really excited to hear his new project. He never wanted to stop touring. He never wanted to stop playing. It was the other guys. They're like, oh, I'm too old. I've made enough money. Fuck off. That just goes to show you how they're just not, you know, some of those guys really didn't believe in the band as much as some of the others did.
Yeah.
Man, that's fucking sad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. The way I see it is I'm going to die on the drum chair. I'm going to play till I just can't do it no more. I don't give a fuck. I don't.
Yep. Because I can, I'm keeping this fucking hair for a long fucking time. I just want it to go all white. I'm keeping this fucking hair. I will keep fucking chugging. I don't care how old I am. It's like the tattoos. People think, oh yeah, you're going to be really bad when you're old. No, I'm going to look like I'm fucking cool.
You know, and that's a really interesting fucking thing too. You know, I saw a couple memes where it was like, your tattoos kind of show like your whole life. It's almost like a, you know, kind of a note of all the things you've been through, done, whatever. I mean, look at Ozzy. He don't look bad. He don't look bad with his tattoos, as fucked up as he is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, if you ask me, it's character.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like writing your memoirs. Sometimes they look better. I know it's kind of weird to say that, but have you ever been to like, I don't know, some big cultural event or a tattoo convention? You see some old folks. I'm talking like, you know, 60s, early 70s, sporting fucking tattoos that just take your breath away.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the coolest fucking people in the world.
Yep.
We're going to be those people. I don't know. The way I look at it is Buddy Rich did it till he was 87.
I want
would too.
This on Reaper or a burning church. Something like that.
Oh, man.
I mean, with fucking 2-foot flames.
That'd be epic.
That would be so cool, especially since my one forearm piece has flames around it, but you can tell that the inks were not good. I need that bitch reworked for sure.
Yeah, maybe you need to come out here and hang out with me for a while. I don't have a drum kit. I have a friend who has a drum kit, and he'll let you. We can put it down in my studio here, and then you can come hang out, and we'll create for the third album. We'll create songs that way.
Shit. Well, my wife and I are going to be down there not too long from now in the fall. Yeah. I know that to be the truth.
Where?
Greensboro, but we'll definitely be able to make it down your way.
Greensboro's about 3 hours away.
That's not bad.
That's not a bad drive.
Not at all. You know, it was kind of funny. I had a customer today, family. We get a lot of family.
Still on the air, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I don't know where you're going with this.
No, it was just kind of funny. He was talking about a burning church, and I was just like, you know, it's kind of funny because this family came into the store, and their little boy was like really drawn to this ram's head necklace. Okay. And it's got like a red, almost like cat's eye kind of thing. And he really, really wanted it. And they're like, well, what does this mean? So, you know, I tell him I tell him what I want to tell them. And then the mom was like, oh, well, I'm okay with that. And they buy it. And I'm like, I know what you were going to say. You fucking Satanists. I know why the boy was drawn to it, but damn, the mother was against it. I was like, he's going to leave with that. Thank you all so fucking much for staying with us. Man, it's been a blast. Especially talking about Iron Maiden, which is very, very fucking, special to Tracks from the Damned. And don't forget, tomorrow night, motherfuckers, another edition of Reaper's Underground with the great, legendary Hallows Eve founding member Tommy fucking Stewart of Tommy Stewart's Direwolf and CEO of Black Doomba Records. Those of you bands out there, tune the fuck in if you want to find out how the hell to get a record deal, because he will tell you. Okay? But most importantly, as you're getting your nightly snacks and you're getting your little footies on and you're, curling up around the fire, stay heavy.